What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Locked Up 365. Today, I'm going to be talking about what happens to an inmate when they're due to be released. Whether it's on parole or a serve-out or MRS, whatever the situation is, we're going to go over many of them. If you're already subscribed, welcome back. If you're a new viewer, Locked Up 365, we talk about all things jail and crime related. So if you like this kind of content, smash that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell so you can be notified first. Okay, so the first thing we're going to be talking about, if you have a loved one that is incarcerated, you can get on Department of Corrections, and there's other websites that they kind of link you to. But you can be notified if there's any changes in his case, or like if he makes parole, it will notify you immediately. If you're the inmate, then you can get timesheets. Usually jails will only allow you to get this like maybe once a month or every 3 months because they don't want everybody on the yard or in the county jail. They don't want everybody getting a timesheet 5 times a month when there's no changes. Now, as an inmate, you really rely on your people to find out about your status on parole and stuff like that. If you don't have people on the outside, like me, I had minimal contact with the outside world. That's just how I liked it. So I didn't call people to get them to look up, see if I made parole or whatever. I just didn't bother nobody. I didn't want to be a nuisance to somebody. So both times that I made parole, I didn't know that I was actually going home until the day they called my name and told me to pack it up. If you're an inmate in jail and you made parole and you didn't know prior that you had actually made parole, what will happen is they will send you to a halfway house. It might not be in your area. They could send you to the other side of the state. They'll give you a bus ticket to get there. Now, if you knew prior, you could put in a home placement to Department of Corrections so they could approve your address. So you could go home instead of going to a halfway house. So it's very important if you know somebody that's locked up to stay on top of that Department of Corrections, especially if they're going up for parole soon. You need to stay on it because they will make them go to a halfway house, and then they'll have to, once they get there, they'll have to put in the home placement and then wait to get approved, which sometimes could take a month or two, and then they get to come home. It's good to always go ahead, like say if you're going up for parole in January, I would go ahead and fill out a home placement in October, just so they have it, and then I would turn around and send another one in January. As an inmate, that's all you can do is keep sending in home placements, and hopefully they get it and you get to go home. Okay, so if you're an inmate, you get out on parole, you get sent to a halfway house. When you get there, you will probably be on a 2 or 3 day restriction where you can't leave, and after that, you will be able to leave. You'll be able to go get a job. And a lot of the halfway houses, the one I was in, I didn't have to pay rent or anything like that because I was there ordered by the state. So all of my money was my money. The whole point is they want you to save money. They want you to get an apartment and get out. And it goes for the same if you hit MRS. Now MRS, you hit in between 9 months and 7 months of serving out your sentence. If you don't have a home placement put in, they will send you to a halfway house. And another option is if you can't live with like a family member or something like that, you could always maybe see if you can get into a sober living. Like you can go from a halfway house to a sober living just to get out of the state's grasp. The sober living is basically the same. You have a curfew, you got to go to meetings, stuff like that. But you do have a little bit more freedom than the actual halfway house at the sober living. Not much, but a little bit. Now, what does an inmate do if they have no family that wants to mess with them? They don't want to talk to them. So what do you do if you get out and you're served out? They won't send you to a halfway house. They're basically like, we're going to give you a bus ticket to the depot and you're on your own. Everything you own is what you're wearing, what you got locked up in. Most people ain't coming out of county jail or anything with like a lot of money saved up. Some people do, because they're in there hustling. But A lot of people get out, they have what they went in with. I'm going to tell you what I did, because when I got out, I had nothing. I had nowhere to go. All I had was the clothes on my back. I had some toothpaste and a toothbrush, and that's it. I had nothing. So what I did is when I was in jail, I took a MRT program. I had taken SAP. Now, in me taking the MRT program, the AA, NA meetings, I connected with a lot of people because I knew I had nowhere to go when I got out. So the only thing I knew to do was try to make friends with these people and ask and see if I had options. So the guy that actually taught the MRT class, he picked me up and took me to a sober living. He got me into a sober living, and he gave them $50 for me to stay. It was $90 a week. So he gave them $50 for the first week. I went the same day. I got a job, and they had a bunch of extra clothes where people had left or got locked up and just left their stuff there. So they had bags of clothes that had been there forever. You could kind of go through and get what you wanted out, or stuff that was donated. And that actually helped me out a lot. Grabbed what I needed to get through. I went and got a job the same day. I just happened to luck into a job. I started the next morning. I just paid my rent, came home, did what I was supposed to do, went to the meetings. So I did that for about 3 months, and I had been seeing this girl, which is now my fiance, and we ended up deciding that I was just going to move out of the sober living, move in with her. Here we are today. I got a new car, different job that is a lot better than the last job I had, but the last job was a good starting point. It's a good starting point. Any job when you get out is just a starting point. It's a stepping stone. All you need is a platform in order for you to get a car, a place. Once you get a car, you get your transportation in order, you can go to a different job to make more money. And I know it's hard to get a job as a felon. They give you like a paper at the parole office, like, oh, these are all the places that hire. Most of those places don't hire felons. Like, they have McDonald's on there. I tried to get a job at McDonald's, they wouldn't hire me. So you gotta go to some of these factories. A lot of the factories nowadays, especially people that just have like drug charges and stuff like that, it's more acceptable now to have like a possession charge. So if you have like a non-violent crime, you can definitely find work in factories. Heck, hit up the temp services, because a lot of them, they'll hire you as long as you have a non-violent. Now, if you have a violent crime, you're going to have a hard time. But you can find one. You just got to get out there and you got to hustle. You got to talk to people. Actually, you can even go to these AA meetings, NA meetings, connect with other felons, sober living. There's a house full of guys that are working somewhere and they all have felonies. So going to a sober living like the one I went to, that's how I got the job, because 5 other people that I was living with was working at the same place. Okay, so say if you go to court and the judge says you're going to get out on probation, you're signing the papers, you're going to get out that day, there'll be a PO inside the courtroom that will take your address and he'll get all your personal information from you, and you'll go and you'll get out. Now, the PO will give you a date of when you have to go see them. Like if you're there on the 1st, they'll say, come see me on the 15th. You'll have to go to the PO's office, pee once a month. Now, if you get out on probation, the only difference between probation and parole is when you go to court, you get straight out. You don't have to have a home placement. They basically just ask your address and they will be showing up very soon. Just to do a check, make sure you live there, things like that. Probation and parole is set up for failure. Probation, it's like 43% of all Americans will end up back in handcuffs. Parole is even worse. It's like 67% of parolees will end up rearrested. So you gotta definitely be on your P's and Q's, because it is set up for failure. Once you get in the state's grasp, it's hard to get out. That's all I have on this topic today. I hope everybody enjoyed the video. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and do that now. I'll keep you up to date on all things jail related. Thanks for watching Locked Up 365.